Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon and watched the massive space station grow larger on the screen. The station was beautiful beyond anything humans had ever built. It spun slowly in the light of two yellow suns, its crystal towers reaching out like arms to welcome visitors from across the galaxy. "Sir, we're getting their docking signal," said Lieutenant Ben Carter from his position at the communications panel. His voice carried the excitement they all felt. After 3 long years of talks and messages sent across space, humanity was finally here. They were about to join the Galactic Council. Jake nodded and smoothed his dress uniform. Everything had to be perfect today. Earth's future depended on what happened in the next few hours. Behind him, Ambassador Lisa Carter checked her notes one more time. She had spent months preparing for this moment. Every word of her speech had been chosen carefully. "Take us in nice and slow, Commander Brooks," Jake ordered. Danny Brooks, their best pilot, guided the ship toward the docking bay with steady hands. The Horizon was Earth's finest ship, but next to the alien vessels around the station it looked small and simple. The docking went smoothly. Jake and his team stepped off their ship and into a world of wonders. The station's corridors were filled with beings from 12 different worlds. Tall, thin creatures with blue skin walked past short, furry aliens with 4 arms. Flying jellyfish-like beings drifted overhead, while rock-like creatures rolled along the floor. "Welcome, humans," said a voice like wind chimes. Jake turned to see a Zephyrian approaching them. The being looked like a person made of pure light, shifting between different colors as it moved. "I am Speaker Velnara. The Council is ready to hear your final petition." They followed the Zephyrian through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Jake had read about this place in the files Earth had received, but seeing it was different. The station was home to millions of beings, all living together in peace. This was what humanity wanted to join. The council chamber was huge. 12 seats arranged in a circle, each one designed for a different alien species. The humans took their place in the center, feeling very small under the dome that showed stars spinning overhead. "We call this session to order," announced High Counselor Vextar of the Vorthon Empire. The giant insect-like being's voice boomed through the chamber. "The species known as humanity has requested membership in our council. Today we will hear their final words." Lisa Carter stepped forward. Her voice was clear and strong as she spoke about Earth's hopes. She talked about what humans could bring to the council. She spoke of their art, their science, their desire to explore and learn. The aliens listened in silence. When she finished, the council members began to debate. Most of what they said sounded positive. The Zephyrians praised human creativity. The ethereal collective spoke of humanity's potential. Even some of the Vorthons seemed impressed by how quickly humans had developed space travel. But Jake noticed something odd. Danny Brooks, who was standing near the back of the chamber, kept looking at his datapad with a worried expression. The young officer had been monitoring all communications since they arrived, as was standard procedure. The debate went on for 2 hours. Finally, High Counselor Vextar called for a break. "We will consider your petition," he told the humans. "Please wait in the guest quarters while we discuss this matter." As they walked back through the corridors, Danny moved close to Jake. "Sir, I need to show you something," he whispered. "I've been picking up encrypted signals between council members." The translation software finally cracked them. In the privacy of their guest room, Danny showed Jake what he had found. The datapad displayed message after message between council members. As Jake read them, his blood turned cold. "They never planned to let us join," he said quietly. "Lisa." Carter read over his shoulder, her face growing pale. The messages were clear. The council had been studying humanity for years, not to welcome them but to decide how to deal with them. They had seen how fast humans learned and grew. They had watched Earth's technology advance in just a few decades, from simple rockets to faster-than-light travel. This scared them. "They think we're too dangerous," Lisa whispered. "They're afraid we'll become stronger than them." But the worst was yet to come. The final message in the chain made Jake's hands shake. The council had not brought them here to reject their petition. They had brought them here to destroy them. Quantum plague deployment approved, the message read. Human extinction protocol begins after the ceremony. Estimated timeline, 100 years for complete sterilization. Make it look natural. Jake stared at the words. A weapon that would kill every human on Earth slowly and carefully so it would look like they had just died out naturally. No one would ever know the truth. We have to warn Earth, Lisa said. They'll stop us if we try to leave, Danny replied. Look at this. He showed them another message. Council security was already moving to surround their ship. Jake made the hardest decision of his life. Danny, can you get our communications working? Yes, sir, but they'll know we're transmitting. Do it. Send everything we found to Earth on all frequencies. Make sure someone gets this message. Danny's fingers flew over his controls. Within minutes, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Jake could hear heavy footsteps running toward their room. Signal sent, sir, Danny reported. Earth will know the truth. The door exploded inward. Fourth-hand soldiers in battle armor rushed in, their weapons ready. High Counselor Vextar followed them, his insect face showing anger. You should have accepted your fate quietly, he said. Now you have made this difficult for everyone. Jake stood, up straight, facing the alien leader. Earth will remember what you did here. Vextar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Earth will be dead in a century, who will remember then? But Jake smiled. You'd be surprised what humans can do when they're angry. The weapon that killed the Horizon also released the quantum plague. As Jake Morrison and his crew died in the cold of space, their final message raced toward Earth at the speed of light. The warning would arrive in time, but would it be enough? On Earth, the signal was received by every radio telescope, every satellite, every communication device capable of picking up the transmission. The message was simple and terrible. They fear what we might become. Remember us. Remember what they did. The quantum plague was already spreading through Earth's atmosphere. Invisible and deadly, it would work slowly, corrupting human DNA generation by generation. The Council had planned perfectly. In 100 years, humanity would simply fade away, and the galaxy would never know they had been murdered. But the Council had made one mistake. They had given humanity time to prepare, and they had made them very, very angry. Dr. Helen Wade stared at the data on her screen and felt her heart sink. The quantum plague was worse than anyone had imagined. It didn't just kill people. It was designed to destroy humanity slowly, making sure no one could ever develop immunity to it. How long do we have? Asked General Rick Stone. The military leader had flown to Helen's lab as soon as Jake Morrison's message reached Earth. Every government on the planet was now working together, but they all knew time was running out. The plague works through generations, Helen explained, pointing to the genetic models on her wall screen. It corrupts our DNA little by little. Children born today will be weaker. Their children will be weaker still. In 100 years, humans won't be able to have healthy babies anymore. Rick rubbed his tired eyes. In the 3 days since the Horizon's final message, he had not slept. Every military base on Earth was now preparing for the largest evacuation in human history. Can we stop it? No, Helen said quietly. But I found something interesting. The plague can be slowed down if we freeze people. Cryogenic sleep stops the genetic damage from spreading. So we can save some people? Maybe. If we can get them far enough away from Earth and keep them frozen until we find a cure. Rick activated his communication device. All station commanders, this is General Stone. Operation Exodus is now active. We have authorization to use every ship, every transport, every vessel that can carry people. Start loading the cryogenic pods now. Across Earth, the greatest evacuation ever attempted began. Not everyone could be saved. There were 8 billion people on Earth, and only enough ships to carry 1 million. The selection process was heartbreaking. Families were torn apart. Children were chosen over parents. Scientists and engineers were given priority, but so were artists and teachers and anyone who could help rebuild human civilization somewhere else. Captain Amy Foster commanded the new Hope, one of the largest colony ships. She watched through her bridge windows as thousands of people said goodbye to their families. Many would never see each other again. The lucky ones would sleep in cryogenic pods for who knew how many years. The others would stay on Earth and live out their lives as the plague slowly destroyed humanity. "Captain, we have our full load," reported her first officer. 50,000 people in cryosleep plus supplies for 1,000 years. Amy nodded. "Take us out. Set course for the outer rim." The New Hope was just one of dozens of ships leaving Earth. Some were military vessels converted to carry civilians. Others were cargo ships fitted with cryogenic equipment. A few were luxury liners that had been turned into refugee transports. All of them carried the same precious cargo, the future of humanity. The journey was dangerous from the start. The Council had patrol ships watching all the major space routes. They were looking for human vessels, though they didn't expect to find any. As far as the Council knew, humanity was dying quietly on Earth. The first battle happened near Jupiter. 3 Council ships found a small convoy of human transports. The alien vessels were bigger and had better weapons, but they had not expected the humans to fight back so fiercely. Commander Pete Johnson led the defense from his destroyer, the Fighting Spirit. "All ships protect the transports, don't let." A single Council ship escaped to report our position. The battle was brutal but short. The humans had surprise on their side and desperation in their hearts. When it was over, the Council ships were destroyed, but 2 human transports had been damaged. 15,000 sleeping humans died in the cold of space. "We can't keep fighting like this," Amy Foster said during the commander's meeting afterward. "They have too many ships. We need to find somewhere to hide." That's when Pete Johnson made his discovery. His ship had been exploring the edges of known space, looking for a safe route to the outer rim. His sensors picked up something strange in a region called the Void Between. This area of space was marked as dangerous on all Council maps. Ships that went there were said to never return. "There's something out there," Pete reported to the fleet. "An ancient signal. It's old, maybe millions of years old. The signal is weak, but it's definitely artificial." The fleet commanders debated for hours. Should they follow the signal into unknown space, or continue toward the outer rim where they might find empty planets to settle? The decision was made when Council patrol ships were detected coming toward them. "We follow the signal," Amy decided. "If we're going to die, at least we'll die exploring something new." The journey into the Void Between was terrifying. Space itself seemed empty here. No stars, no planets, just darkness stretching forever. The only light came from their ships, but the signal grew stronger as they traveled deeper. After 2 weeks of travel, they found it. A solar system hidden in the darkness, with a small red star and 3 dead planets. But the planets weren't empty. They were covered with ruins. Ancient cities, massive structures, and something that made the humans gasp in wonder. A space station larger than Earth's moon, still functioning after millions of years. "My God," whispered Dr. Wade, who had been awakened from cryosleep to study the discovery. "This is incredible. These ruins are older than anything we've ever seen." Pete Johnson led the first exploration team to the station. What they found inside changed everything. The station's computers were still working, maintained by machines that had been running for ages beyond counting. And in the deepest part of the station, they found records. They called themselves the Builders, Pete reported to the fleet. They were destroyed by something called the Ancient Council. "Look at this." The records told a story very similar to humanity's own. The Builders had been a young, growing species. They had developed space travel quickly and had been invited to join the Ancient Council, but the Council had feared them and had tried to destroy them with a genetic weapon. It's the same pattern, Helen Wade realized. The Council has been doing this for millions of years. Whenever a species becomes too advanced, too quickly, they destroy them. But the Builders had been smarter than the Council expected. They had hidden some of their people and had spent their last years developing technology to help other species survive the same fate. The station was filled with genetic laboratories, cryogenic systems far more advanced than Earth's, and something even more incredible, biotechnology that could heal genetic damage. "This could be our salvation," Helen said, studying the Builder records. "Their technology might be able to cure the quantum plague. Not just stop it, but actually reverse the damage." The decision was unanimous. The human fleet would hide in the Builder system. They would use the ancient technology to improve their cryogenic systems and to search for a cure. And they would wait, however long it took, until they were strong enough to return to the galaxy. Captain Foster made the final log entry before the fleet went into extended sleep. We came here as refugees running from extinction. We're going to sleep surrounded by the technology of another species that face the same enemy we face. When we wake up, we'll be ready to make the Council pay for what they did to Earth. The last human ships powered down their engines and connected to the builder station. One by one, the crew members entered the advanced cryogenic pods. The station's ancient machines began their work, slowly improving the human genetic code while the people slept. In the cold darkness of the void between, humanity began its long sleep. But this was not the sleep of the defeated. This was the sleep of a species preparing for war. The builders had left them tools and knowledge. The Council had given them motivation and anger. Time would tell which force was stronger, the Council's ancient power or humanity's growing rage. But one thing was certain. When the humans finally woke up, they would not be the same species that had fled Earth in desperate fear. The quantum plague had been meant to destroy them. Instead, it was about to become the foundation of their evolution into something the galaxy had never seen before. Something the Council would learn to fear far more than they had ever feared the original humans. In the deep cold of space, surrounded by the ruins of the builders, humanity slept and dreamed of revenge. 500,000 years passed like a single breath in the deep cold of space. The human fleet floated silently among the builder ruins, their ships connected to the ancient station by cables that pulsed with soft blue light. Inside the cryogenic pods, 1,000,000 sleeping humans dreamed dreams they would never remember. Dr. Helen Wade had not truly slept in all those years. Her consciousness lived inside the station's quantum computers, watching over the sleeping humans like a guardian angel. The builder technology had made this possible. Before entering her own cryogenic pod, she had uploaded her mind to the station's core systems. She could think and learn and watch, but she could not touch or speak or feel. At first, the quantum plague worked exactly as the Council had designed it. Helen watched helplessly as the genetic poison spread through the sleeping humans. Their DNA began to break down, cell by cell, generation by generation. She tried everything the builder computers could suggest, but nothing seemed to work. Then something unexpected happened. The plague began to change. The builder station had been designed to help species survive genetic weapons. Its systems slowly released healing compounds into the cryogenic pods. These compounds were meant to repair genetic damage, but when they mixed with the quantum plague, something new was created. Instead of destroying human DNA, the plague began to rebuild it. The poison became medicine. The weapon became a tool of evolution. Helen watched in amazement as the sleeping humans began to change. Their brains grew new neural pathways. Their cells became stronger and more efficient. Their lifespans stretched from decades to centuries. Most incredible of all, they began to develop new abilities that no human had ever possessed. The first sign was telepathy. Helen noticed it when the ship's computers began picking up strange signals from the sleeping pods. The humans were dreaming, together, sharing thoughts and memories across the fleet. Children who had never met were becoming friends in their sleep. Scientists were solving problems by combining their sleeping minds. Then came the technology interface. The builder station's computers were designed to connect directly with biological minds. As the humans evolved, they began to naturally develop this same ability. Helen watched as sleeping engineers unconsciously began to improve their ship's systems, their enhanced minds reaching out through the builder networks to make repairs and upgrades. Physical changes followed. The humans grew taller and stronger. Their eyes became more sensitive to light. Their reflexes quickened. Their immune systems became so powerful that no known disease could harm them. The quantum plague, which had been designed to kill them, was now making them nearly immortal. But the most important change was in their understanding. The sleeping humans began to dream of mathematics and physics that Earth's greatest scientists had never imagined. They learned to see patterns in space and time. They understood how to bend reality itself to their will. Helen realized what was happening. The builders had faced the same genetic weapon long ago. Their technology had been specifically designed to turn that weapon into an evolutionary tool. The quantum plague was not random destruction. It was a test, and humanity was passing it. Meanwhile, in the wider galaxy, the Council grew fat and lazy. With humanity apparently extinct, they had no more challenges to face. They conquered new species easily, using the same genetic weapons that had worked so well on Earth. Dozens of young civilizations were wiped out or enslaved. The Council members lived for thousands of years, but they had stopped growing and learning. They controlled 1,000 worlds, but they ruled through fear instead of wisdom. They had forgotten that the universe was full of surprises. High Counselor Vextar, who had ordered humanity's destruction, still lived. He was ancient now, even, by Vorthon standards. Sometimes he would look at the reports from Earth's solar system and feel a strange unease. The planet was dead, exactly as planned. But his deep space sensors had never found the human ships that fled Earth. Where had they gone? Keeper Zethmore, the Council's head archivist, shared Vextar's concerns. He had spent centuries studying the human evacuation. The numbers did not add up. Earth had contained 8 billion humans, but the estimated plague deaths only accounted for 7 billion. Where was the missing billion? They are out there somewhere, Zethmore told Vextar during one of their rare meetings. I can feel it in my bones. Humans do not die quietly. Vextar dismissed his concerns. Even if some escaped, they would be dead by now. The plague kills slowly, but it kills completely. No species has ever survived our genetic weapons. But Zethmore continued his research. He studied every report, every sensor reading, every piece of data from the years following humanity's exile. Slowly, a pattern emerged. There were gaps in the Council's surveillance. Areas of space where their sensors detected nothing, but where something should have been. The void between was one such area. Council ships avoided it, believing it to be cursed. But Zethmore noticed that human ships had been detected near its edges just before they disappeared from all sensors. Could they have gone into that empty region of space? He sent probe ships to investigate, but they all reported the same thing. Nothing but darkness and ancient ruins. The probes detected no life signs, no ship emissions, no signs that anyone had ever lived in that dead system. What the probes could not detect was the advanced builder technology that hid the human fleet. The sleeping ships were invisible to Council sensors, protected by stealth systems that were millions of years old. The humans slept on, unaware that their enemies were searching for them. As the centuries passed, Helen Wade learned more about the builders and their fate. They had been destroyed by the ancient Council, but not before they completed their greatest work. The station around which the human fleet slept was not just a hiding place. It was a school. The builder computers contained the knowledge of 100 extinct civilizations, science and art and philosophy from species that had been destroyed by the Council across millions of years. All of this knowledge was slowly being absorbed by the sleeping humans. When they finally woke up, they would not just be evolved humans. They would be the inheritors of every species the Council had ever destroyed. They would carry the dreams and hopes and anger of 1,000,000 different worlds. Helen watched the centuries pass and felt something she had not felt since Earth's destruction. Hope. The Council had meant to destroy humanity with their quantum plague. Instead, they had created their own executioners. The sleeping humans were no longer the species that had fled Earth in terror. They were becoming something new, something powerful, something that would make the Council pay for every world they had destroyed, every species they had enslaved, every life they had stolen. In the deep cold of space, surrounded by the ruins of the builders, humanity slept and evolved and prepared for the day when they would wake up. That day was coming soon, and when it arrived, the galaxy would never be the same. The Council had sown the wind with their betrayal of Earth. Soon they would reap the whirlwind of humanity's return. Captain Roy Bennett opened his eyes for the first time in 500,000 years. The cryogenic pod that had been his home for countless centuries hissed open, releasing warm mist into the air. He sat up slowly, expecting to feel weak and confused like the old training manuals said he would. Instead, he felt strong and alert, as if he had just woken from a perfect night's sleep. The first thing he noticed was that he could hear thoughts. Not his own thoughts, but the thoughts of his crew members as they began to wake up throughout the ship. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan was thinking about her family back on Earth, wondering if they had survived the plague years. Engineer Chris Walker was already reaching out with his mind to check the ship's systems, somehow knowing exactly what needed to be done. Roy stood up and looked around the medical bay. The New Hope had changed during their long sleep. The walls were no longer simple metal but seemed to be alive, pulsing gently with soft light. Cables and circuits had grown throughout the ship like veins, connecting everything together in ways that made perfect sense to his enhanced mind. "Welcome back, Captain Bennett," said a familiar voice. Dr. Helen Wade appeared on the main screen, but she looked different. Her image was clearer, more real than any hologram he had ever seen. "I have been waiting a long time to speak with you, Dr. Wade," Roy said, his voice sounding strange to his own ears. It was deeper, more resonant than he remembered. "How long have we been asleep?" 500,000 years, give or take a few centuries," she replied with a smile. "I know, it sounds impossible, but you will understand everything soon. The builder technology has been teaching you while you slept." As if her words had triggered something in his mind, Roy suddenly understood. The knowledge flooded into his consciousness like water bursting through a dam. He knew about the quantum plague and how it had been transformed. He knew about the builder civilization and their ancient war with the Council. He knew about the changes that had occurred in his own body and mind. "We are not human anymore," he said quietly. "You are still human," Helen corrected. "You are just more than human now. The plague that was meant to kill you has made you into something the galaxy has never seen before." Throughout the ship, other crew members were having the same realization. Kate Sullivan discovered she could communicate with the ship's computer through thought alone. Chris Walker found that he could repair damaged systems just by touching them, his enhanced biology interfacing directly with the ship's living circuits. But the most amazing discovery came when they looked outside. The New Hope was no longer just a ship. It had grown and evolved, merging with builder technology to become something magnificent. The vessel was now alive, capable of faster-than-light travel without traditional engines. It could repair itself, defend itself, and even reproduce if necessary. Roy made his way to the bridge, where his senior officers were gathering. Each of them looked different. Taller, more graceful, with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. They moved with perfect coordination as if they were parts of a single organism. "Status report," Roy requested. "All systems are functioning perfectly," reported Kate Sullivan. "Better than perfectly, actually. The ship has capabilities we never dreamed of." "The rest of the fleet is awakening as well," added Chris Walker. "I can sense them through the builder network. Every ship has undergone the same transformation we have." Roy nodded and activated the communication system. Across the builder system, other ships were coming online. The convoy that had fled Earth as desperate refugees was now a fleet of living vessels, crewed by evolved humans with abilities that bordered on the magical. "This is Admiral Lisa Park of the New Terra," came a voice over the communication channel. Roy recognized the name from the old records. Lisa Park had been a commander when they entered cryosleep. Now she was apparently the fleet's leader. "Admiral Park, this is Captain Bennett of the New Hope," Roy responded. "Good to hear your voice again." "Likewise, Captain. Please report to New Terra for a full briefing. We have much to discuss." New Terra had once been the largest of the builder space stations. Now it was humanity's new capital, a magnificent city ship that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. As Roy's shuttle approached the docking bay, he marveled at what his people had accomplished. The ancient alien architecture had been seamlessly merged with human design, creating something that was both beautiful and functional. The briefing room was filled with the awakened leaders of humanity. Roy recognized some faces from the old days, though they all looked different now. Younger, stronger, more alive than any human had ever been. Admiral Park stood at the center of the room, her presence commanding attention without effort. "Welcome, everyone, to our new reality. We have slept for 500 millennia, and in that time we have become something extraordinary. She activated a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. The Council still rules, but their empire has grown corrupt and stagnant. They control 1,000 worlds through fear and genetic manipulation. Entire species have been enslaved or destroyed. The display showed world after world under Council control. Billions of beings living in oppression, their evolution stunted by the same genetic weapons that had been used against Earth. They think humanity is extinct, Park continued. Our scouts have confirmed that Earth is listed in their records as a dead world. They have no idea we survived, let alone that we have grown stronger. What do we do now? Asked Admiral Jack Turner, who had commanded the military escort ships. We have the power to destroy them all. One ship could probably take out their entire fleet. That is exactly what we must not do, Park replied firmly. Revenge is not justice. If we simply destroy the Council, we become no better than they. Roy understood her reasoning. The evolved humans could feel the emotions and thoughts of other beings. They could sense suffering across vast distances. The idea of causing unnecessary death was repugnant to their enhanced minds. Then what do you propose? Asked Commander Ellen Hayes, who had led one of the civilian transports. We liberate the galaxy, Park said simply. Not through destruction, but through revolution. We show the enslaved species that freedom is possible. We give them the tools to free themselves. The debate that followed was unlike anything that had occurred in human history. The evolved humans could share thoughts and emotions directly, making communication faster and more complete than ever before. Different viewpoints were considered simultaneously, and solutions emerged that no single mind could have conceived. Some wanted immediate action. Others counseled patience. A few suggested revealing themselves to the Council and demanding surrender. But as the discussion continued, a consensus emerged. They would return to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as liberators. They would free every enslaved species, topple every tyrant, and build something better in place of the Council's empire of fear. The Council betrayed us 500,000 years ago, Admiral Park said as the meeting concluded. They thought they were destroying a threat. Instead, they created their own replacement. Today, we begin the end of their reign. As the leaders returned to their ships to prepare for the long journey back to Council space, Roy felt a strange mixture of emotions. Sadness for the Earth they had lost, anger at the Council that had destroyed it. But most of all, hope for the future they would build. Humanity had slept as victims. They were awakening as the galaxy's salvation. Captain Steve Martinez stood on the bridge of his invisible ship as it drifted toward the heart of Council space. Around him, a fleet of evolved human vessels moved like ghosts through the darkness. The Council's sensors could not detect them. Their advanced technology was millions of years beyond anything the aliens possessed. All ships report ready, said his communications officer. Lieutenant Carol Davis could speak directly to every ship in the fleet through her enhanced mind. No radio signals were needed. No chance of being overheard. Steve nodded and looked at the massive space station ahead of them. Council Prime was the center of galactic government, home to billions of aliens from dozens of species. Most of them were slaves, though they might not realize it. The Council controlled everything through fear and genetic manipulation. Begin the broadcast, Steve ordered. Across the galaxy, every communication device suddenly came alive. On 1,000 worlds in 1,000,000 cities, beings stopped what they were doing and listened. The message was simple but powerful. It spoke directly to their minds in their own languages, bypassing all government controls. We are humanity, the voice said. 500,000 years ago, the Council betrayed us as they have betrayed you. They tried to destroy us with a genetic weapon, just as they have destroyed so many others. But we survived. We evolved. We became something more. Today, we offer you a choice. The effect was immediate and shocking. On the ethereal homeworld, beings who had been enslaved for 200,000 years suddenly remembered what freedom felt like. On the Silicon worlds, artificial minds that had been forced into servitude broke their programming chains. Across the galaxy, the Council's slaves began to understand that their suffering was not natural or necessary. Your masters fear you, the human voice continued. They fear your potential, your growth, your ability to become something greater. That is why they keep you weak. That is why they control your genetics, your thoughts, your very souls. But you are not weak. You never were. High Counselor Vextar sat in his throne room on Council Prime and watched his empire begin to crumble. Reports flooded in from every corner of the galaxy. Slave revolts, system failures, entire fleets switching sides. It was impossible, but it was happening. Where is this signal coming from? He demanded of his technicians. Everywhere, sir, replied Chief Engineer Krillex. It appears to be broadcasting from every communication device simultaneously. We cannot trace the source or block the transmission. Vexitar's ancient insect face twisted with rage. Find them! Find these humans and destroy them! But his orders came too late. The first human ships were already appearing around Council Prime. They did not decloak or drop their stealth systems. Instead, they simply began to exist where they had not existed before, as if they had stepped out of another dimension. Admiral Ben Torres commanded the lead ship, a vessel that had once been called the Fighting Spirit, but was now something far more magnificent. Council forces, this is Admiral Torres of the Human Liberation Fleet. Surrender your weapons and prepare to be boarded. The Council's response was predictable. Every weapon on the station and the surrounding fleet opened fire at once. Energy beams that could destroy planets, missiles that could crack moons, particle weapons that could turn entire fleets to dust. All of it focused on the human ships. None of it worked. The human vessels absorbed the energy attacks like sponges, absorbing water. The missiles simply passed through them as if they were not there. The particle beams curved away from their hulls like water flowing around rocks. Impossible, whispered Commander Zektar from his flagship. Nothing can withstand that much firepower. Then the humans began their real demonstration of power. Admiral Torres and his crew simply walked out of their ship into the vacuum of space. No spacesuits, no protection of any kind. They moved through space as easily as walking through air, traveling faster than any ship. The evolved humans passed through the Council's shields as if they did not exist. They walked through the hulls of ships without breaking them. They appeared on bridges and in command centers like ghosts made flesh, but they did not come to destroy. They came to convert. When Admiral Torres appeared on the bridge of Commander Zektar's flagship, he did not draw a weapon. Instead, he simply touched the ship's main computer. Instantly, every system switched allegiance. The weapons powered down. The shields reconfigured to protect nearby slave ships instead of attacking them. Your ship now serves freedom instead of tyranny, Torres told the shocked alien commander. Your crew can choose to join us or be relocated to a neutral world, but this vessel will never again be used to oppress others. The same scene played out across the entire Council fleet. Human officers appeared on every ship, in every command center, at every weapons station. Within 17 minutes, the most powerful military force in the galaxy had switched sides completely. High Counselor Vexitar found himself alone in his throne room, facing a human woman who had simply walked through his locked doors. Admiral Kelly Morrison was the descendant of Jake Morrison, the captain who had died warning Earth of the Council's betrayal. She carried herself with the same quiet dignity her ancestor had shown. You, Vextar hissed. Your species was extinct. I watched your world die. You watched our world burn, Kelly replied calmly, but you did not watch us die. We evolved beyond your ability to destroy us. The weapon you used to kill us became the tool of our transformation. Vexitar raised a weapon, but Kelly simply looked at it, and it crumbled to dust. Your empire is finished, she said. Your slaves are free. Your weapons are useless, but you still have a choice. What choice? The ancient alien demanded. Join us in building something better, or face the same exile you gave us. Spend your remaining years on a world where you can harm no one but yourself. But choose knowing this. The age of the Council is over. The age of cooperation begins now. Across the galaxy, the revolution was complete. Every enslaved species had broken free. Every Council world had declared independence. The genetic weapons that had controlled so many races for so long were neutralized by human technology. But the humans did not become the new rulers. Instead, they helped establish the new Galactic Alliance, a democracy where every species had an equal voice. The old council worlds became rehabilitation centers where former oppressors learned to live without power over others. Earth was restored using builder technology. The dead world bloomed again, becoming a memorial to those who had died and a symbol of renewal for those who survived. The quantum plague that had nearly destroyed humanity was transformed into a gift that any species could choose to receive. It offered enhanced abilities, extended lifespans, and freedom from genetic diseases, but only to those who wanted it. The price had been paid in full. 500,000 years of patience and evolution had led to this moment. The Council had betrayed Earth, expecting to eliminate a threat. Instead, they had created their own replacement and the galaxy's salvation. In the deep archives of the new alliance, the story of humanity's long journey was preserved. From betrayal to exile, from evolution to liberation, it served as a reminder that no tyranny lasts forever, and no people are truly powerless. The Council had sown betrayal and reaped justice. The galaxy was finally free, and humanity had become exactly what their enemies had feared, the species that would replace them and build something infinitely better.